Welcome back to Everything is Political with Evan Solomon on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167. Everything is Political is brought to you by the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions, standing up for healthcare.
As far as the wall is concerned, we're going to build a wall, we're going to create a border, we're going to let people in, but they're going to come in legally. We're going to have a big, fat, beautiful door right in the middle of the wall. We're going to have people come in, but they're coming in legally. And Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
Donald Trump, who in many polls still leads the field in the Republican nomination race, and his, what many believe are hardline policies, many believe they're populist policies, include building a wall along the Mexican border, getting rid of illegal immigrants. Generally, Donald Trump has astounded people with the numbers he brings in, the viewers he brings in, and also his remarks. Some have called him sexist, some have called him chauvinist, some have called him populist. He has a staunch defender, political commentator Ann Coulter, who has introduced him at several events. Coulter has written some best-selling books on immigration called Adios America, others like Never Trust a Liberal Over the Age of 3, How to Talk to a Liberal If You Must. She made news, of course, during the GOP debate on CNN after several candidates expressed their support for the state of Israel, which is kind of de rigueur in the GOP debates anyway. Everyone does it. She tweeted out, how many Jews do these people think are in the United States? That's just in the U.S. What does she think about Canada and the new Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his relations with Iran, pulling out of the fight against ISIS, legalizing marijuana, all sorts of issues. Glad to have Ann Coulter here on Everything is Political on Sirius XM. Ann Coulter, great to have you.
Great to be here, Evan. I love the name of your program.
Hey, everything is, you know that. You and I have spoken before. Nothing gets by you on political issues.
We used to, my best friend and I at law school would be in huge arguments in the dining hall because, even people who basically agree, you find things to disagree on. And kids would come with their little, food trays and say, why are you always talking about politics? We just look at one another, stunned into silence.
That food
what
is
else
political.
Do you talk about
That's
food,
it.
The weather.
Well, even the food. Look at here in Canada. If you drink a certain cup of coffee, it's a political. You drink Starbucks, it's one thing. You drink Tim Hortons, it's another thing. The coffee's political. All right, now let's get to Donald Trump. Look, in the United States, he's a phenomenon. I got to tell you, up here, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, a lot of people think he's a bit of a clown. They know him from reality television.
Yeah.
What's the deal? Why are you supporting Donald Trump? Is it a serious bid, or is this one of those TV moments, populist moments that flames out eventually?
I don't think it's populist, it's popular, and I must say I might have taken the same position. I never thought he was going to run for president. I never thought I would support him for president. It is all about immigration, and it's really showing an enormous rift between the Republican, exposing a rift between the voters and the Republican Party. What's amazing is, he announced his presidency talking about Mexican rapists and how he was going to build the wall, campaigned on that for the next month. His first policy paper, and he's only put out 2 major policy papers, first major policy paper was on immigration. He talks, every time he talks about immigration at one of these 2,000-person events, the standing ovations and the standing ovations that will last for 5 solid minutes are when he talks about stopping our current immigration policies. So it's 100% about immigration, and it's kind of baffling to read these mainstream media articles that will go on, or actually all media articles. The conservative press is attacking him as much as the liberal.
Yeah, but it's not just the press. Remember, Mexico, their foreign minister has said his comments reflect prejudice, racism, or plain ignorance.
Yes, well, they have a good deal, and Americans have a bad deal, and Donald Trump wants to end that. But it is all about immigration, and the fact that that is what has been so popular, obviously, with the public. He soared to the top of the polls. He has been, and what you may have heard, because everyone is saying it, but it's not true, the front runner the summer before a presidential election year usually is the nominee. There are exceptions to that, but the rule is The guy who was dominating the summer before, I mean, Reagan was. I went through a whole list of them in a column recently because it wasn't the way I remembered it. So I went back and spent days on Nexus looking up, how the polls went. I mean, you'd think the way people talk about it, you'd think Herman Cain was dominating the polls all summer in whatever that would have been, summer of 2011. No, he won one little, straw poll in Florida, and the media made a big deal of it. But anyway, I'm getting off.
But let me ask you something, because
why has I'm sorry. Let me just make this
Go ahead.
point. I was rambling. That was my fault. Why has no other Republican picked up Donald Trump's position on immigration?
Because he's not. This is what they would say, all right, as I speak to Ann Coulter. They're saying, why? Because they're not true. For example, here's what he said on June 16th. What can be simpler or more accurately stated? The Mexican government is forcing their most unwanted people into the United States. They are, in many cases, criminals, drug dealers, and rapists. And then when fact-checking that, as many people have done for the Center of Immigration Studies, they have detailed reports. In fact, they've said that there's been inverse trajectories since the 90s, that, well, immigration has increased. Guess what? Crime has decreased.
Oh, no. These are nonsense studies. You have to read my book, Adios America. That's where the facts are. Trump read it. That's where he got a lot of this stuff. No, it's complete nonsense. What they did is they looked at I ought to say, like the first line of Anna Karenina, all lies about immigration, or the truth is always the same. The lies are always lies in a different way. So that particular lie is a lie in the sense that they only counted certain types of crimes. They didn't count the kinds of crimes that Mexicans tend to commit, i.e. drug crimes. What were the other ones? Oh, a lot of drunk driving issues. Those were completely excluded. Once you use the new FBI definition of what we're looking at for the bucket of crimes, all those areas they cited as, high immigration rates, and yet the crime went down. Suddenly it goes through the roof.
No, but hang on. They also say federal prisoners make up 10% of the incarcerated population in the U.S. This goes back to 2013. Mm-hmm. But Trump has said that aggravated felons like murderers, drug traffickers, and illegal trafficking of firearms, those are Mexicans. The Congressional Research Service found that unauthorized immigrants do not fit that category at all. I guess my point is... Wait.
That's an important point. That's an entire chapter in my book.
Okay.
Which was not going to be a book about immigration. Most of my books are more sort of big theme type books. Immigration was going to be part of it. I'd already written a couple of chapters. I get to the immigration chapter, and I try to look up how many immigrants are in prison. And by the way, neither I nor Donald Trump are distinguishing here between legal or illegal. What difference does it make? In fact, I think it's worse. It's one thing if a criminal runs across the border and our government doesn't catch him. How about the ones the government is saying, welcome?
So wait a second. Are you against immigration or are you against illegal immigration?
Our current completely legal immigration, that's a much bigger problem. They go instantly on every welfare program. Illegal immigrants are on a lot of welfare programs, but legal immigrants are on far more welfare programs than native-born Americans. That's crazy. We have our own poor people. We have our own criminals. Anyway, when I went to look for the statistics on my immigration, what I thought was just going to be a few chapters, I found an enormous government and media cover-up, which I describe in Chapter 7 of my book. You try to find out how many immigrants, both legal and illegal, can we break that down? Our government keeps statistics, Evan. You would not believe the insane things I kept coming across because I was doing just fanatical researching for looking for any possible connection. I can tell you, I'd have to do it on Google now, but I could get it in 2 seconds, how many Americans have broken stair railings? How many Samoans have battery-powered radios? Oh, we keep careful statistics on all that. How about telling me how many immigrants are in prison? How many are illegal? How many are illegal? What crimes are they in prison for? For child rape? For drugs? No. The government will not tell us that, and they have a million different...
Well, hang on. The Government Accountability Office in 2011 did an analysis from collected reports to 2009, right, to the Department of Justice State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, right, which localities get reimbursed for convicting and incarcerating, inmates like that. And what did they find? Drug offensive made up of the majority of convictions in 5 states, the largest population of inmates. And they were not, by the way, necessarily immigrants. A lot of them involved U.S. citizens, 4 out of 5.
Okay, this is why I write such fantastic books. You've got.
Well, I'm just reading you the stats.
No, I'm telling you, I write about that very study, which I basically have memorized at this point, because I kept coming across these various studies, and the title would be "Immigrants in U.S. Prisons," and I think, hallelujah, tell me everything. The GAO report came the closest. They estimate that in that year there were 351,000 incarcerated aliens. Okay, these are the immigrants they were excluding. One, all legal immigrants in state or local prisons, which is where most of criminals are. Convicted illegal aliens for whom the states did not submit reimbursement requests to the federal government. Prisoners whose country of birth could not be determined. Immigrants who have been naturalized. Children born to illegal aliens on U.S. soil.
Okay, but Aunt Coulter, my question is,
look,
I know, but is your theory that immigrants are like? I just don't get the theory, because a lot of people, and I know I'm not saying anything that you haven't heard. People will say dog whistle politics and culture when you're really talking about immigrants. Your thesis that immigrants commit more crime than non-immigrants, it's basically racism, right?
Well, 3 points. One is the thesis is the government is lying to us. This is really important. Point one. Point two, there are, I don't know how many there are. My book is a sustained rage and demand for answers. But I do know there are way too many, and there shouldn't be any. Why would any country be bringing in people who are going to commit crimes against?
Well, hang on. People? The premise is no one wants to bring in people who are going to bring in crimes, but we have low birth rate and immigration. If you look at our immigrants are generally productive for the economy. Look at Japan. Very bad immigration rate, and they've had stagnation.
Japanese are not like Americans. Americans were always reproducing at far more than replacement rate. The reason a lot of Americans aren't having kids now is because their neighborhoods are crime prone. They can't get jobs. They're paying all these taxes for services for.
Are you kidding me? You think people aren't having babies because of when the crime rates are going down?
They are going down.
Crime rates are going down.
Not in immigrant enclaves. I just told you that was a lying statistic. But wait, you had an important 3.3.
Go for it.
You claimed that this was a dog whistle for racism, and I have a very important point on that. The only reason Americans are sensitive to race, and the only reason they should be sensitive to race, is because of slavery and Jim Crow. That is about African Americans. That is what we did to the descendants of African slaves, this is the Democrats, of course. Jim Crow laws, 100% the Democrats. We don't know anything to someone who has never set foot in this country before, and it is particularly outrageous for someone. All we have done to the rest of the world, to Somalia, to Haiti, all we've done is rescue them from earthquakes, from warlords, from the Nazis. All we do is help the rest of the world. No, you do not, arrive here yesterday and piggyback on the black experience in America.
Right, but I don't want to get into. I don't know if a lot of people would say all America did was help in Iraq. I don't want to go down that. There's a lot. That's a complicated argument. Two things. I want to get to Trudeau, but two things on Trump.
It's not complicated. We don't owe them what we owe black Americans. Even if you're against the war in Iraq, there is black Americans have a special place in American society. They got the short end of the stick by government policy, intentionally.
I agree. Okay, hang on. Two things.
They are something special. Immigrants, and in fact, immigrants are piggybacking on the black experience. Immigrants get affirmative action applying to college in America. They get advantages in government loans. They get special aid programs. All of them.
All right, hang on. Hold on. Now I know you think it's about him. Hold on. I want two things because people here are interested in Donald Trump. One, what he said about Carla Fiorina and her face. A lot of people say you love it. A lot of people say it was overtly. It's hard not to see it as a blatant, sexist, chauvinistic remark. How is it not?
No, and in fact, I chattered so much about this after the last debate, she had to address it in the debate last week. No, he was talking about what a sourpuss she is. I don't know how much you guys care about our debates and watch them. She never smiles. She is a sourpuss. I watched the debate live, and because I'm a nut, I then watched it again over the weekend with the sound off. And it's really striking when you watch people talking with the sound off what a sourpuss she is. Every other candidate on stage would laugh at some point, smile at some point, tell a joke, laugh at something someone else said. Not Little Miss Sourpuss. Oh, no.
Okay, so you just think he didn't say sourpuss.
One-punch knockout.
Oh, man. Okay, finally. When you said that comment about the Jews, how many Jews do these people think are living in America? You were accused of anti-Semitism. What did you mean by that remark?
Well, anyone who is following anything I write, and they should, I go through these hate campaigns all the time, understood perfectly well. You can read my Twitter feed and see I'd been complaining about GOP pandering all day. In fact, my column that very day went up an hour before the debate. I didn't even get to Israel. I said, can you stop, Republicans, would you stop pandering on, it was Ronald Reagan, abortion, and I forget what the other issue was. We are all pro-Ronald Reagan. We are all anti-abortion. I didn't even mention Israel in the column, and then the debate starts, and we get all the paeans to Ronald Reagan, and who can denounce abortion with greater vitriol.
But how you said it, come on.
So
I mean...
in the very last question... And I was live tweeting the whole debate, like every 5 minutes there would be another tweet. And the last question to the candidates was, every one of them answer, how will America be different after your presidency? And the first 3 Republicans to start talking about Israel. So I point that out and then say, how many effing Jews do they think live here anyway? Yes, if I had not been live tweeting, I would have put the F word someplace else.
Is this an Ann Coulter saying sorry for going overboard? No?
I'm sorry people lied about the tweet. I mean, how many effing anything? How many effing fetuses does Hillary want to kill? How many effing immigrants do we have to take? How many effing people are going to lie about my tweet? That isn't saying effing Jews. It's saying how many.
All right. Okay, hang on, because I don't know if you're... listen, hold on. We got to take a break. I got to pay some bills. Stay here. I want to hear you on Justin Trudeau.
White explanation of how to use effing in a sentence, because I did use it properly.
Okay, well, we'll do grammar. Hang on. Ann Coulter, stay with me. I want to hear you on Justin. I cannot wait to hear you on Justin Trudeau. He wants to end Canada's involvement in the combat mission in Iraq and Syria. He wants to reestablish relations with Iran. I wonder what he wants to legalize pot. Ann Coulter on Justin Trudeau. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Stay with us.
I'm Linda Silas. I represent Canada's nurses. We are the voice of nearly 200,000 nurses working on the front line for you and your family, day in and day out. We are standing up for healthcare and hope you will join us. Carry on the momentum of this election. Demand your MP protects Canada's healthcare system.
Canada's nurses work on the front lines of healthcare for you and your family. Visit voteforcare.ca to learn more.
You're listening to Everything is Political with Evan Solomon on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167. Everything is Political is brought to you by the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions, standing up for healthcare.
I'm back with Ann Coulter, American author, commentator, columnist, provocateur, and we've talked about Donald Trump. I got to ask you about your thoughts about Canada's new Prime Minister. He's technically our Prime Minister designate, but on Wednesday he becomes the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. His father, of course, very famously took him when he was a baby down to Cuba to his pal Fidel Castro, and there's pictures of him. I'm sure you have good thoughts on that. He has an agenda. It's after 10 years of conservative Canada under Stephen Harper, we are now back to a liberal Canada, and Justin Trudeau has a couple things on his agenda. One, he's already told Barack Obama, we are pulling out our CF-18s from the combat mission in Iraq and Syria. We're legalizing marijuana. We'll have the right to die, among other things. What do you make of Justin Trudeau?
It could never have happened without immigration.
What does that mean?
It means... I read an article about this. You people are as crazy as we are. And here I was thinking I'd have to butter up to Canada, over the last few years until Trump came along. And now I think we can save America because I figured I was going to have to go north. But now I find out you've been wrecking your country with immigration, too. It was, what do you call them? Not districts. You call them ridings or something?
We have ridings, and we take in about 230,000, 240,000 immigrants a year. And in our campaign...
wildly diverse cultures, and
yes.
They are all voting for the Liberals. And I'm sorry, look, persuade the people who live there, including, immigrants who've come in over the years. But for one political party, as the Liberals are doing in Canada and the Democrats in this country, to say, screw it, we can't convince Canadians, let's just bring in 500,000 ringers every year. No, it's just not fair. The Conservative Party can't do that either.
But with all due respect, I'm going to counter your statement with a fact. For the last 10 years, it has been the Conservatives who have won the immigrant vote. It has been a guy like Jason Kenney, who was one of our senior ministers, who in fact turned the immigrant vote from Liberal, which it was classically, for 10 years conservatively. Why? Because many conservative immigrant votes had socially conservative values about family, and immigrants very famously voted for the Conservative Party for 10 years until this last election. So, the truth is, immigrants voted conservative.
In the last election, when you have 24 of the 29 ridings with 50% or more immigrant voters going for the Liberal Party, this is not, just a coin toss which party is going to get them. They're going to vote mostly Liberal. The Liberal Party has been running a bunch of losers up there, allowing it to look as if I assume the Conservative Party in Canada is much like the Republican Party here. We're good voters. We're law-abiding, honorable people who remember to vote even when a loser like John McCain is running. Whereas Liberals need a little more pizzazz. They need something to bring them out to vote. But when they come out to vote, you have been bringing in people who will be block voting for the Liberal Party, and your country is going to be finished. I don't really...
The truth is, it hasn't happened. Look, it hasn't happened like that. One of the things that happened, though, is very much like Donald Trump. In our last election, Stephen Harper, the Conservative Prime Minister, decided to use the issue of women wearing the niqab, the face covering at citizenship ceremonies. He wanted to block it. There was a grand total of 2 of them who wanted to do it. The court said they were allowed to because they could identify themselves privately. They challenged it in the court, but the niqab issue became a kind of Trojan horse for issues of otherness and difference and immigration. Yeah. And it turns out they lost for a lot of reasons because of that issue.
That's more like Romney. I say in for a dime, in for a dollar. They challenge this really rather preposterous practice, but meanwhile, you're running ads with smiling immigrants and still trying to suck up at the same time. Just, be men. This is what we stand for. We're Canadians. We believe, I'm saying this is what you're a conservative should say. We stand for helping everyone who lives here, but this is Canada. You immigrated here. We didn't immigrate to your country. You have to become a Canadian, and that's our position. And
but we have something called multiculturalism. We don't. Becoming a Canadian means what? What? I mean, you're saying
he's going to win the largest percentage of Hispanics who would ever consider voting for a Republican. And these guys, look, I can speak more knowledgeably to American politics, obviously. Look at George Bush. He's turned his entire White House into an Hispandering operation. He was giving White House addresses in Spanish. He was touring with that Spanish-speaking half-Mexican nephew of his like it was an extra appendage. He's touring with the president of Mexico. He pushes amnesty. And the big victory from that is George Bush got 40% of the Hispanic vote. Okay, idiot Republicans, do you understand that you need 51% to vote? Meanwhile, that suppresses the white working class vote in particular and the black vote. Curiously, in Texas...
Why divide? I don't get it. Well, what are you running against Hispanic voters? And you got Marco Rubio. Republicans are losing because they can't get these voters.
They're losing because it hasn't occurred to the Republican Party, and I am guessing the Conservative Party, in 40 years that, white people vote for us. Maybe we should ask for their votes. No, it's somehow.
But why do you talk about whites and blacks and Hispanics? Why not just talk about Americans? This is the politics of division that I thought we're supposed to get over.
My entire life, all I've heard about is how we have to get the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the Muslim vote. My entire life, I could turn on TV right now and they would be talking about, Republicans need to get the Hispanic vote.
But are you stoking the coals of old? Are you stoking the coals of dangerous racism? This is where you start lighting the fire of people turning on immigrants, and that is the slippery slope towards racism.
It is.
And xenophobia.
I do not want to hear about racism unless you were talking about the descendant of an American black. And why can you suck up to every group except white people? Why are white votes embarrassing? We bleed too.
What is this? I mean, okay, but nobody's challenging white votes. I don't understand it. No, who is saying anything about the white voter? I mean, are you victimizing the white voter now? Come on.
You're the one. All I said was the way you win is by driving up the white vote, and you freaked out. And I'm saying, why is it so horrible to talk about the white vote when all we hear the livelong day is about the Hispanic vote, the Muslim vote, that vote, the women's vote?
Well, I'm thinking about driving up the American vote, but not breaking it down. But let me ask you this. What about legalizing pot? Justin Trudeau says that's going to help create revenue, keep it out of the hands of kids, and get rid. The war on drugs has failed. We need to legalize. They've done it in 4 states in the United States. What's your view?
I think it's ridiculous. It's a disaster, and it's especially sad for the women of Canada who are going to face a generation of sunken chest young men.
What do you mean? This is the theory that pot sinks your chest?
Yeah, any potheads. They're all like midgets, skinny, sunken. They're not manly men.
And Coulter, you are. I mean, I don't even understand how to respond to that. They're not manly man. What does that mean? Can I ask you a question? Have you ever smoked pot? Have you ever smoked pot?
What I mean.
Have you ever smoked pot, by the way?
No, I have not.
Never. Okay.
But I used to follow the Grateful Dead, so I knew a lot of them.
Right. Well, maybe there's other things you can do there. All right. Justin Trudeau, of course, he's admitted that he smoked pot. All right. What's your message to Justin Trudeau?
You didn't have to tell me that.
Right. All right. So before I let you go, Ed Coulter, it's great to have you on this program. I mean, Canada, he becomes the prime minister on Wednesday. Then he's going to go to this Paris meeting on climate change. There's a lot of big issues here. What's your message to Canada? And by the way, Hillary Clinton, a lot of people are looking at how Justin Trudeau won, the sunny ways, the optimism over the divide and conquer. It's a bit of the Trudeau ways versus the Coulter way, Trump ways here.
Okay, I have a very important message. I'm glad we're ending with this. Canadians, when Trump becomes president, you will be welcome in America.
Oh, no wall here? Is that what you're saying? No Tom Tancredo wall on Canada?
Now with Trudeau there, we're definitely going to need a wall. But I will be choosing the immigrants. I'm going to do it like, what do they call that, Tinder.
Oh, God. Yeah. Ann Coulter, the Tinder. Hey, listen, I don't even know where to begin.
Every immigration case before breakfast.
All right. Ann Coulter, commentator, columnist, and can our folks who listen, can they tweet you? What's their Twitter handle? At Ann Coulter.
At Ann Coulter.
At Ann Coulter.
And our webpage, www.anncoulter.com, and a Facebook page. And, of course, you have to read my fabulous book to understand the entire Trump campaign. He read it. He asked for it. He got a copy before it came out, and he's been telling everybody else.
All right. Well, listen, Ann Coulter, you come back on as this. We'll find out how Trump does in the Republican field as the race is tightening up, and Marco Rubio going up in the polls. Ann Coulter, we'll have you on again to talk about this. Give us the update from the U.S. Great to have you on Everything is Political, and everything is political.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, Ann.